never do it again, cried Mr. Gregg. Never, never, never. Do you really mean that? Asked the duck. I do mean it, said Mr. Gregg. I'll never shoot another duck as long as I live. That is not good enough, said the duck. What about deer? I'll do anything you say if you will only put down those guns, cried Mr. Gregg. I'll never shoot another duck or another deer or anything else again. Will you give me your word on that? Said the duck. I will, said Mr. Gregg. Will you throw away your guns? Asked the duck. I will break them into tiny bits, said Mr. Gregg, and never again need you be afraid of me or my family. Very well, said the duck. You may now come down. And by the way, may I congratulate you on the nest. For a first effort, it's pretty good. Mr. and Mrs. Gregg and Philip and William hopped out of the nest and flew down. And you see the family in the illustration. Then, all at once, everything went black before their eyes, and they couldn't see. At the same time, a funny feeling came over them all, and they heard a great wind blowing in their ears. Then the black that was before their eyes turned to blue, to green, to red, and then to gold, and suddenly there they were, standing in lovely bright sunshine in their own garden, near their own house, and everything was back to normal once again. Our wings have gone, cried Mr. Gregg, and our arms have come back. And we are not tiny anymore, laughed Mrs. Gregg. Oh, I am so glad. Philip and William began dancing about with joy. Then, high above their heads, they heard the call of a wild dog. They all looked up, and they saw the 4 birds, lovely against the blue sky, flying very close together, heading back to the lake in the woods. It must have been about half an hour later that I myself walked into the Gregg's garden. I had come to see how things were going, and I must admit I was expecting the worst. At the gate, I stopped and stared. It was a queer sight, very strange. In one corner, Mr. Gregg was smashing all 3 guns into tiny pieces with a huge hammer. In another corner, Mrs. Gregg was placing beautiful flowers upon 16 tiny mounds of soil, which I learned later were the graves of the ducks that had been shot the day before. Oh, wow. And in the middle of the yard stood Philip and William with a sack of their father's best barley beside them. They were surrounded by ducks, doves, pigeons, sparrows, robins, larks, and many other kinds that I did not know. And the birds were eating the barley that the boys were scattering by the handful. And you see the boys giving out the barley to all the different types of birds. This is the end of today's reading.